Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have bad luck for the rest of the week.
Now, you love your pet, right? Think about all the fond memories you've shared with them. However, there is a possibility that your pet isn't as loyal as you think. And at any moment, your pet could snap and attack you for no reason. From a pet camel killing owners to monitor lizards feasting on a dead body, here are 10 pets that attack their owners. Number 10. Pet camel. Let me just say, I've never heard of anyone owning a pet camel. I mean, I thought you just domesticate them and own them, like not have it as a pet. Unless I'm getting the whole thing wrong here. Still, I'll admit that camels look docile, and those are the makings of a really good pet. Alright, let's get to it. On her birthday, 60-year-old Pam Weaver, an Australian exotic pet owner, was gifted a 330-pound camel as a pet to add to her collection of cattle, sheep, and other camels on her property. Being an exotic pet owner, she was excited for a camel, and apparently, the pet camel was excited as well. Well, as it turned out, that camel was excited, and not that kind of excited, if you know what we mean. So when the female camels didn't give in to advances, and shortly after a failed attempt at mounting the family's pet goat, the 10-month-old Randy Camel turned to the owner, which Pam Weaver found to be a little odd. And when she tried to fight off the pet camel, it responded with aggression, knocking her over, biting her severely as she lay on the ground, and finally straddling her until she ran out of oxygen and died. Number 9. Face-eating ferrets. Ferrets are slowly becoming more popular these days, despite the fact that they're not technically domesticated yet. But due to how cute they are, people are willing to take that risk of letting a wild animal into their homes. Either that, or they just don't know any better. Which is probably the case with this Pennsylvania family. It's unclear how the family got a hold of the ferrets, but they had 3 of them. Apparently, it is legal to keep ferrets as pets in the state of Pennsylvania. What was clear, though, is the fact that these cute fuzzy animals weren't as tame as the family thought them to be. For reasons that will become clear in a bit, I'll be keeping the names of the people involved a secret. The horrific story started one day when a mother left her 1-month-old baby in the living room while she went upstairs to use the bathroom. During her absence, 2 of the ferrets somehow managed to escape from their cage and proceeded to gnaw at the poor baby's face. When the baby was discovered, 25% of her face had already been eaten. She was immediately rushed to the hospital. Fortunately, she made a full recovery, although the scars she got from that horrible day will never fade. Number 8. Pigs eat their owner. Oregon pig farmer Terry Vance Garner was the victim of his pigs in one of Oregon's most shocking, horrific incidents. One night he went out to feed the animals, as he regularly would, but he never returned. Not long after, his family went to search for him. After a few hours, they finally found his glasses and part of his body in the pig enclosure. There are 2 speculative theories about what might have happened. The first is that Garner suffered a heart attack and was then consumed by the pigs. The second is that the pigs became aggressive, knocking him down and then eating him. Both are absolutely terrible. Previously, Garner had reported being bitten by an animal, and another factor to consider is that most of his pigs were over 317 kilograms or 700 pounds, which is nearly twice as large as an average pig. Their size alone may lend to the violent tendency theory, but no one knows for sure. Number 7. Scarface the Pit Bull. You know, I'll always argue that pitties are loving dogs that can be the bestest pup in the world, but it's hard to prove that point when incidents like this exist. Scarface was a pit bull owned by husband and wife Ismael and Brenda Guerrero, who, from what research I could find about this, was a pretty normal, happy dog with no issues. That was until New Year's Day 2017, when Brenda innocently tried to put a sweater on Scarface. Now, many of us don't like clothes given to us, but Scarface took the dislike up a notch by viciously attacking their owners. There were no warnings, there was no buildup, no signs. Scarface just launched himself and dug his fangs into Brenda. The husband attempted to wrestle the dog off of her, which only resulted in Scarface turning his anger on him. The couple's son grabbed a kitchen knife and started to stab Scarface multiple times in the head and neck. Finally letting go, the family was able to escape the house and leave the angry canine in their backyard. Animal control responded quickly, and police were forced to tranquilize the dog. Unsurprisingly, Scarface was put down due to his aggressive behavior. while the family made a full recovery with non-life-threatening injuries. Number 6. Gerald Rushton's deer. Gerald Rushton was a Texas native who was secretly trying to domesticate a pet deer. I say was because his domestication attempt resulted in the deer goring and mauling Gerald to death. Gerald was keeping the unnamed deer in a kennel in his backyard. The specific details on this case actually aren't as known, as police basically just found Rushton dead and a deer acting all aggressive, forcing them to shoot the deer. What can be assumed are a few things. The first is that the deer resisted being domesticated, resented being placed in a tiny kennel, and flew into a rage against Gerald. Another theory is that it was mating season at the time, and deer can get very aggressive. Couple that with my previous theory, and it's no wonder why the 67-year-old man met his end at the horns of this deer. Side note, keeping a deer in Texas is highly illegal. So if the deer hadn't gotten him first, the police would have. There's no happy ending to this story, but at least in one scenario, he wouldn't have died. Number 5. Travis the chimpanzee. So what do you do when your enraged 200-pound chimp savagely attacks, mauls, and bites off your best friend's face? I'd like to believe that Travis was a good pet chimp all along and that the owner, Sandra Harold, knew that she had created a special bond with the exotic animal. The two would even appear on several TV and talk shows to prove just how incredible chimpanzees are and how easy it is for them to relate to us humans, and vice versa. However, the chimp-man friendship turned bitter one day when Travis would not listen to any of his owner's commands and instead chose to behave wildly. So when the owner, Sandra Harold, called her friend to help her with the aggressive chimp situation, the two ladies shortly found themselves at the receiving end of a chimp that had turned savage. The attacking chimp even bit off her owner's friend's face. The police and medics arrived at a bloody scene, and Travis had to be put down to end his vicious rampage. Number 4. Monitor lizard. The next spot goes to Ronald Huff from Delaware, who in 2002 was found dead in his apartment by police officers, surrounded by 7 Nile monitor lizards that were feeding on his lifeless corpse. Monitors are wonderful creatures, but not exactly ideal for keeping as a pet. They grow up to 6 feet long and have saliva that has bacteria which can prove fatal to humans. It's thought that Ronald's death was due to natural causes, and the lizards had no choice but to start eating him in an attempt to stay alive. By the time the police found his body, he had suffered considerable damage, especially to his face. But luckily, all of the lizards seemed to be in pretty good health. Number 3. Teddy, the black bear. Teddy the black bear was a domesticated bear owned by Kellyanne Walls and her husband Michael. The couple had raised the bear from a cub for 9 years with no issues in behavior. Generally, Teddy was a docile, lazy bear. The couple had no issues with their other animals either, as they also had owned an African lion, cougar, jaguar, and a tiger on their property and were experienced in taking care of each of them. Kelly herself had taken care of Teddy thousands of times, cleaning his cage with no problems or aggression from the 350-pound bear. That was until one day in early October of 2009 when Teddy attacked and killed Kelly during a routine cage cleaning. Kelly had entered the 15 by 15 foot cage and tossed dog food to distract Teddy so she could clean his cage. Teddy then attacked Kelly in front of her children and their neighbor's children, who went and got their father. Mr. Castone was forced to put down Teddy, but sadly, Kelly had already succumbed to her wounds. Number 2. Janet Veal. Cats. Cats are also reliant on their owners, particularly if they're kept indoors. When Janet Veal, a recluse from Ringwood in England, died from natural causes, her pets were left with no choice but to start picking away at their former owner. After realizing that they hadn't seen her for a while, and with letters spilling out of the letterbox, the neighbors called the police to find out what happened. Inside, they found what they described as a distressing scene. There were dead cats and dogs in the kitchen and living room. Some were still alive. Looking around further, they found Janet Veal dead on the kitchen floor, with injuries that showed she'd been eaten by her cats. The coroner's report said that she died of a heart problem, and the cats had no choice but to eat her in order to survive. Number 1. The red deer and elk hybrid. For a few years, Paul McDonald and his family had kept animals on their farm in Australia, including a cross between a red deer and an elk. There weren't any incidents until 2019. During the rutting season, the crossbreed was especially aggressive. Testosterone levels and hormones are high during this period, and males become very aggressive for 2 months. For the other 10 months, they're quite calm. Isolation and castration can help reduce these tendencies, but unfortunately, they hadn't done so for him. He was also isolated, but that didn't help. As Paul was out one morning feeding the animals, it attacked him. His wife came running when she heard something going on, only to be attacked and injured herself. Then, her son went for help. When police and paramedics arrived, they shot the deer elk crossbreed and tended to her and Paul's wounds. She survived. Paul did not. As always, thank you for watching. What's the scariest moment you've ever had with your pet? Let us know in the comments. And be sure to like this video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. We'll see you next time.